I started taking apart the steering column to get to the clock spring on this 2010 F250. Doing this video. I've seen others on YouTube with clock springs, but I haven't seen the 2010, and I figured that if I could make this, it'd make everybody else's life a little bit easier. I've already pulled or started pulling apart the steering column. I'm about to pull the screw to remove the tilt switch on the steering column. I have basically just pulled this apart. After pulling the screw from the tilt steering wheel switch, I was able to pull the rest of the plastics off of the steering column, and revealed to me the screws you could kind of see behind the steering wheel to remove the airbag. I could see all four of them. After pulling those screws, I'll be able to pull the airbag. Back to pulling the airbag, I was mistaken whenever I picked out those screws to unscrew based off another YouTube video. It turns out it was specific to a different vehicle. What I did have to do was pull this right here. It acted as a spring. As you can see, there's three of them, a left, a right, and a bottom. Once those things were pushed aside from the back side of the steering wheel, I was able to remove the airbag. Now I simply just have to unplug it from the three connectors, and I should be ready to move on. I just had two wires to unplug from the airbag. Looks like I might have to unplug one more from the steering wheel. This plug right here, as you can see, if you squeeze where my thumb and my finger are, it releases it. It was sitting flat up against it. I'd never seen a connector like that before. This one had a little pin that slid into it from the top. I had to remove that pin, and then also it was just a regular slide connector here. And then looks like a big Torx to get the steering wheel off. Okay, based off of another video that I watched on YouTube, I was under the impression that I had to pull the screws that were the four screws that were holding it on. They explained that that's how the airbag was being held on. Well, I pulled those screws only to be disappointed. Here's the clips right here. As you can see, they move. Here's the third one. And they clip on in these three holes right here. Knowing that would save me probably about 20 minutes of my time digging through my tools, finding the right screwdrivers. This steering wheel was only being held on by this one Torx nut, and as you can see, it had Loctite on it, so it was a pain to turn from one end to the other. On the video that I watched, it required a steering wheel puller, a pulley puller, to get the steering wheel off. This one just had that one Torx bolt holding it on. You can see the clock spring from here, and I'm gonna pull that off, and then I'll show you some more. So I pulled apart my clock spring to see what my problem was. It only took two screws to hold it on, one here and one here. I pulled my clock spring apart, and originally I thought it was all good, and I didn't understand, why it was broke. But it was broke on the end. It came disconnected, and whenever it came disconnected, my symptoms were it sounded the horn, and then when the horn stopped, the cruise control didn't work, and the airbag light came on, so it was no longer good. I'm going to put the new one in, and I'll start again. So I installed the new clock spring. As you can see, it still has this pull pin to release it and allow it to start spinning. You're supposed to have the wheel of the vehicle straight for the most part, and then install this, and then pull the pin, and then your wheel should go on there straight, and you shouldn't break your new clock spring. The old bolt for the steering wheel had Loctite on it, so I plan on putting Loctite on it. I've noticed the more stuff I work on, the more stuff I need to put Loctite on. I've had projects that I've tightened down to specs only for the bolts to come back apart. This one right here, I definitely don't want it to come back apart. And in conclusion, we've got the steering wheel back together. The horn honks again. Cruise control works. The airbag light, as you can see on the dash, is going out. Totally back together. The tools I used, like 8mm, 10mm, a couple of screwdrivers, and of course, a reliable assistant.